Lex Reads. So in today's video, I wanted to talk about some of my favorite books that have been adapted into films. And you guys know how much I love movies. Every month I always incorporate what movies I watch. I tend to watch at least one or two movies, every month. I have a good list here of some of my favorites, so I want to share some with you. So let's just get started. This is kind of random, but I adore the music to this Broadway, and then of course it turned into a motion picture movie, and it is The Phantom of the Opera by Gaston Leroux. I grew up listening to the music of Phantom of the Opera by Andrew Lloyd Webber. Crazy thing is, sometimes when I don't know what to listen to, I will put on the soundtrack of Phantom of the Opera. They turned it into a movie and it was fantastic. And you know why I like that? Because it tells you in the movie, it tells you like the backstory of the Phantom. I like the way that they incorporated that and added that, because you realize, oh, okay, that's why he does a lot of that stuff. Next is Their Eyes Are Watching God by Zora Neale Hurston. There was a TV movie that it was starring Halle Berry. She played the main character Janie, and then Oprah Winfrey, she like produced her or something like that. And I remember when I watched that, I had never even read the book. I wasn't into, books during that time. And I remember when that premiered. It premiered on like CBS, I believe. It premiered on like ABC. I would have to say though, the way that they described tea cake, like tea cake in the book, tea cake looks nothing like Michael Ealy. he was a good, yeah, was he a good tea cake? I don't know. I mean, he was okay or whatever. Of course, I think Halle Berry did a fantastic job playing, Janie. I would say, though, I probably like the book a little bit better than the movie. Next is If Beale Street Could Talk by James Baldwin. And I would have to say, I like the movie because the ending was different. And usually that bothers me because I'm like, just stick to the book. But it was, I don't want to say a semi-happy, ending, because, I mean, a man that's falsely accused of raping a white woman, there's no, there's no hope in that, especially during that time. So you already knew that even if he was innocent, which he was going to be proven guilty. But I like the way that the movie, because you did end, because you did get some closure. I'm all about closure when it comes to, books and movies. Like, at least give me that, especially if it's like a hard plot, a hard storyline. And with this, again, Fonny's accused of raping a white woman that he didn't do it. He was not near the woman or anything like that. Just, one thing after other. So yeah, I do love the story too. Next is the same author but different stories. First is The Great Gatsby by F. Scott Fitzgerald. This is like one of my favorite books. Like, it's on my list of one of my favorite books. I had to read this when I was a junior in high school. I've read this twice, and you guys know I don't read books twice. I have to just really, really love it. And I wanted to read it and I really wanted to reread this as, an adult, because the last time I read it, I was like 16 years old or something. Now, for the two movies, there was one in the 70s with Robert Redford, and then the newest one with Leonardo DiCaprio. I personally like the one with Leonardo DiCaprio. I love Robert Redford. I'm a fan of Robert Redford, okay? He still looks good to me, and he's like, pushing 90? But there was something about the new one that was released. And I always say the fact that they made it modern, it didn't hinder the story, and it didn't bother me. Because, sometimes it's like, because, this book is set in the 1920s, and they stick to that, but they have some modern aspects. Like, in one of the scenes, they have Jay, driving his car, and it's like Jay-Z playing in the background. I love both the movie and the book. Like, I can't choose. They're both fantastic. For F. Scott Fitzgerald is The Curious Case of Benjamin Button. I had no idea that was a short story. And you guys know, last year I actually had The Curious Case of Benjamin Button. It was like on my top movies for 2023. I had not seen that movie when it came out, and you guys remember that movie was huge. That was a big deal, and I just watched it last year, and I could like just beat myself the fact that I waited that long. And although the story, the because it's a short story, although the short story is not like the movie, it still has the same concept of like Benjamin Button, the way that he ages backwards and all that. It has that. But I like the fact that in the movie they incorporated him being like an orphan, and you had Queenie, which is played by Taraji P. Henson. She, adopted him. I love that aspect of it. But the short story is fantastic. Next is Little Fires Everywhere by Celeste Ning. I absolutely adore the limited series. I think I might like the limited series better than the book. And the reason why is I like the way that they talked about race and class, and particularly race in the limited series, because they didn't talk about race in the book, because you just assumed that Mia and Pearl, they were like white. Obviously in the limited series, that they're played by two black actresses. Kerry Washington's played by Mia, and although what Mia did was totally wrong, I don't agree what she did, but the author wrote that character so well where felt I feel like I'm contradicting myself. You understood why she did what she did to some extent. So again, like I said, I'm contradicting myself, because yeah, she had no business doing that to that family. But at the same time, it's like, well, she didn't have anyone, and she was ostracized, and she was, isolated by her family. So yeah. And then lastly, I talk about this book so much, you guys, because it is beyond one of my favorites, and it is The Reader by Bernard Schlink. And I think the reason why this also shocks me, because it's not something I would just gravitate towards. And I picked this book up on a whim when I was in college. Yet again, I did not know that it was a book. And when I watched the movie, I went out and got the book from the library. I remember that. And I was just in awe. And the backdrop of the story, part of it is about the Holocaust. And you have a woman named Hannah Schlitz. She, starts to have a relationship with she starts to have an affair with a young, 15-year-old boy, and she's in her 30s. And then for a whole summer, one day she just vanishes. Doesn't leave a note, doesn't say anything, and the boy is like devastated. And throughout like his whole life, he always is just thinking about Hannah. And he sees her when he's in college, because he's studying to be an attorney, and she is on trial. And he's like, oh my goodness. And when you learn why she's on trial, that's a shock. And then when you learn about what happens, that's another shock. This book is very unpredictable. Also, I always say that the movie is like the exact same as the book. They only had one scene that they did not put in the movie. It was not even a big deal, because I think you would have gotten her secret a little bit faster if they would put that in there. Both of them are my favorite. And Kate Winslet, she actually won an Academy Award for playing Hannah. That movie is very good. I would say if you don't want to read the book, at least watch the movie. That reveal in secret was beyond shocking. When I watch it, I'm still shocked. That's how good it was. So yeah, guys, that's it when it comes to some of my favorite books that were adapted into films. You guys know how much I love films and movies and documentaries, like live for them. So yeah, guys, that's all I have for you, and I'll be back with more Black books. Bye.